The Fenland Model Show. Now, this is an event that's been on my radar for a number of years. For me, it's super easy to get to. It's set in the beautiful city of Ely. However, owing to a typically full heresy calendar and wanting to take advantage of going to watch British Touring Car Championships, which is another one of my passions, the show has always fell on a conflicting weekend. Until now. So I spoke to the good lady, found a good bakery, loaded the dog in the car, and we headed to Ely for the day. So, what is the Fenland Model Show? Well, as stated on the website, Fen, as it is affectionately known, started in 2022 and has been built into a major event in the miniature painting and modelling calendar, bringing together a community of painters and modellers from the UK and Europe to enjoy a weekend in the beautiful city of Ely, looking at and talking about miniatures and scale models. Without doubt, one of the best parts of the event is the venue, hosted at the Maltings, a dedicated event space down by the river and the marina. It's a really, really nice, pleasant part of the city, plenty of walks and outdoor space. Attached is the Riverside Bar and Kitchen, which was absolutely heaving by 10 a.m. on Sunday morning, alongside a number of other eateries and cafes. And we've also got the Ely Cathedral, which is a short walk from the venue. Now, we can't talk about Ely without mentioning the cathedral, which origins back to 873 AD, when St. Etheldredra founded a monastery on the site. However, this was sacked by the Danish Vikings in 870 AD, burning the abbey and scattering the religious community. 200 years later, Hereward the Wake, an Anglo-Saxon wrapped in mystery and sometimes referred to as the Robin Hood of the Fens, allied with King Estridsson of Denmark, and they used the Isle of Ely as their main stronghold. From there, actually sacking Peterborough Abbey in 1070 as they didn't like the Norman abbot put in place by William the Conqueror. The Danes were bribed to leave England, taking their treasures with them. However, the fate of Hereward remains a mystery. However, as a resident of Peterborough, it's always tickled me that our local radio station was called Hereward FM for a number of years. Turning back to the cathedral as we know it today, it's often referred to as the Ship of the Fens, blending Romanesque architecture in its expansive nave in an intricate Gothic style with a spacious lady chapel. One of the cathedral's most defining features is the octagon tower. The original central tower collapsed in 1322, and an octagonal stone structure capped by a soaring wooden lantern was built. Supported by immense oak beams, this medieval engineering marvel creates an airy, floating central space bathed in light. The structure extends 537 feet, or 164 metres, in length and is the third longest medieval cathedral in England. Today, it remains an active place of worship, a Grade 1 listed building, and a UNESCO heritage site, and an enduring landmark of medieval craftsmanship. Now, Fenland Model Show was the first dedicated painting and modelling event I'd been to outside of the traditional Golden Demon and Forge World open days of old. So I didn't really know what to expect. And it was really nice. It had a super relaxed vibe. Staff were really friendly. There was loads of trade stands and there was a really, really good buzz around the room. It almost felt like going to a gig. As you can see in the images, the setup's really good with 3 display spaces effectively running the full length of the hall with really good lighting. I do like the fact that they've got 2 levels at waist height and eye level, and I loved how the miniatures aren't hidden behind super glossy glass cabinets, which makes it hard to get a decent look and almost impossible to take half decent photos. However, I was super nervous about knocking over someone's pride and joy, something they no doubt spent months working on. It was really cool to see the variety of models on display, not just Warhammer necessarily, although there were some exceptional heresy entries. However, there was a huge range of models and categories available. I especially like to see how people could submit different miniatures for different categories, but they stayed together. So you could enjoy different pieces of work by the same artist. So is it a painting competition? Well, according to the website, the answer is yes but also no. There is a competition, but the organisers consider the whole show more of an exhibition for people to show off their work. There are prizes from the organisers and several more from the very generous sponsors, but the focus is really making it a fun day out for people to share the hobby. Fundamentally, the heart of the show will always be getting miniature painters and sculptors together to share their work. I really like events that can finally balance rewarding efforts without making it competitive, which is incredibly difficult to balance. However, as an outsider looking in, I'd say that they got that balance right. Two highlights from the show whilst wandering around was hearing someone finding out one of their miniatures had been recognised, and she was absolutely over the moon. She got loads of support and she was being championed by those around her. It was a really, really nice moment, and I kind of felt like I was feeding off that energy. There was also a father and daughter discussing all of the different artists and some of their painting methods and their strengths, highlighting to what to look for, and passing down that knowledge. It was a really nice kind of conversation to kind of listen into. However, as an outsider, a tourist, someone who wanted to check out the show to understand what it was all about and have a look at the models on display, who was also, perhaps on a bit of a time limit. I did find that there was quite a lot of people excitedly discussing their miniatures within groups of friends in packs of 3 and 4, as well as people moving in different directions, which did interrupt the flow of those who just kind of wanted to look at the pieces on display. And you could tell that people were getting a little bit disgruntled and a bit miffed. Now, I'm also an event organizer. I know perfectly well that, you've got loads of considerations and you have to work with, what you've got. However, perhaps a one-way system during the first 2 hours of the show might mean people were able to flow through the exhibition area slightly easier, take in what we're all there to see. And then if people wanted to go back and show their friends what they've been working on, this could perhaps be done during quieter periods. Will I go again? Definitely. It's a super nice venue in a lovely part of the city with a really nice vibe. Credit to everyone who was brave enough to submit an entry. I am not one of those. Congratulations to those who were recognised for their efforts, and 2 thumbs up to the event organisers for putting on a great show and introducing something unique into the otherwise sleepy city of Ely. Let me know if you attended and what your experience was. I'd love to hear. If you've enjoyed the video, please don't forget to like, and if you haven't already done so, why not consider subscribing? See you in the next one.